Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, November 27th, 2023. We'll start off taking a look at the satellite picture. We've got an interesting pattern right now, and one that, again, is not going to be bringing much in the way of active weather to the prairie, certainly not much in the way of accumulating precipitation, whether it be rain or snow. We'll just continue to see those temperatures fluctuating as storm systems kind of make their way through. So we've got this upper level low here associated with the subtropical jet across the Pacific Ocean. We've got this blocking high right here, and then another area of low pressure and faster jet stream winds kind of racing from the southern to the southeastern United States. As we kind of zoom in and look at the radar here, again, maybe some light flurries from Saskatoon to Regina coming in on that last shot of cooler air, but not much in the way of substantial precipitation again elsewhere across the prairie here early on Monday morning. Temperatures regionally much colder than they were a week ago this time, but they're already starting to moderate. We'll see those temperatures warm over the next couple of days before we see another shot of colder air come in mid to late week. But certainly, I mean, 13 below in Winnipeg, all the way down to about -5, -9 in parts of central and southern Alberta. So we were talking about temperatures a few degrees above freezing a week ago today. So certainly a bit colder than we were 7 days ago. Looking at the last 7 days of precipitation, it has been a dry last week. Again, some flurries have made their way through the region, but generally speaking, a pretty big void in precipitation across the prairie, all the way from, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba down into the northern plains of the United States. And unfortunately, in the next 7 days, not much change as we look at the forecast here from the European ensemble. Again, 2 active zones. One of those here where we got Pacific moisture being deposited from the Gulf of Alaska into coastal British Columbia, down into the Pacific Northwest, and then here across the southern and eastern United States up into the Canadian Maritimes, where we've got that subtropical jet kind of feeding in. So a big void right here in the middle from the Canadian Prairie down into the northern and central high plains of the United States. The next 7 days of snowfall, or I should say the next 10 days of snowfall, again, the chance for some flurries here, some very light, insignificant snow, generally not looking at any big weather makers, though, traversing the prairie over the next 7 to 10 days. Again, this is rather expected with this current pattern, and this current pattern is expected to take us into, at least the first couple of weeks of December. No strong indication we're going to break it down anytime immediately soon, and this kind of drier, mild pattern, very characteristic of El Nino. This is what we've got. Again, over the next 7 days, kind of just averaging out the pattern across North America are 2 active zones right here and right here, and that kind of just makes sense as that stronger subtropical jet comes around the base of the low in the southwestern United States. We would expect storm systems to kind of develop right there and race off to the east-northeast. And then right here, we've got strong jet stream winds coming around the base of that trough over the Gulf of Alaska, the Bering Sea. Storm systems developing here, kind of traversing that region. A lot of the moisture being deposited on the west side of the Rockies before these lows sometimes kind of ride up over the top of the ridge and then dive down into the prairie, kind of riding around the base of the low right here. When we get those systems coming out of the northwest to the southeast, well, we get sometimes temperature impacts. We'll get a shot of colder air. We get the moisture kind of changing. We'll get a shot of colder, drier air. These systems coming over that ridge and then kind of diving from northwest to southeast across the prairie, that's not a great trajectory for substantial precipitation. That's how you get flurries, very inconsequential showers, I should say. As I talk about the precipitation forecast heading deeper into the winter and early spring, we'll be watching for the subtropical jet, that stronger subtropical jet that's kind of feeding the southern and eastern United States, to gradually advance northward such that we've got flow doing this. Storm systems are coming in from the southwest and lifting into the prairie. That is how we get much more substantial rounds of precipitation. So that is what we will be looking for as we head through the deeper part of the winter, start approaching spring. So this is kind of a long-range idea that we'll be looking for, not something, though, that we see manifesting over the next 2 weeks. As I show you the next week on the left and week 2 on the right, the pattern does evolve a little bit as we head to the first week of December, but it's not an evolution that really changes things for us here on the prairie in terms of precipitation. So right now we've got kind of this split flow. We've got the subtropical jet bringing the precipitation down south. We've got the polar jet bringing the precipitation up to the north and to the west. As we head into the first week of December, we still have that northwesterly flow across the prairie. This still is just not going to be a heavy precipitation supporting pattern as we head into the first week of December. So just animating the next 10 days, You can see the heavier storm systems tracking through this region right here. You see those very light shots of flurries kind of just wrapping around and coming out of the northwest to the southeast across the prairie. I just keep playing the next 10 days and you can see it there. We do not have any sort of really high impact storm systems with any sort of high confidence headed for the prairie, at least in the next 7 to 10 days. Total precipitation over the next 10 days, this is verbatim from the European operational model run. Again, the two corridors could not be more apparent, and neither of them making their way through the Canadian prairie right now. A big void. Again, I share this with you. I am just too far north to cash in on this storm track right here off to my south. So from where I'm recording this video here in Illinois all the way up to the far northwestern reaches of the prairie, this is just simply going to be a dry pattern over the next 10 days or so. Those temperatures, again, I mentioned that shot of colder air that just arrived that's already starting to moderate. See that flow coming out of the northwest as it comes down over the top of the Rockies, it compresses, it warms, and so we quickly modify that air mass. Meanwhile, the colder air already blasting now down toward the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. So quickly advancing on to the south and to the east, but that air mass will moderate over the next couple days for us here on the prairie before we get another shot of cooler air as we get to the mid and late part of the week. But by and large, again, no big change to the background state across the prairie, no big change to the jet stream trajectory, so no big change to the pattern. Light precipitation, mild temperatures overall with shots of colder air. So there you see it, mild overall, 6 degrees for the next 2 days with a shot of colder air midweek, warming back up as we head into the weekend and early next week in Calgary. Same look in Edmonton. Here you are, Saskatoon, Regina, and Winnipeg. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you again next Monday.